Today I'd like to do my full review of the Saucony Mad River TR. In this video I'll go through the features of the shoe, how I'll be using the shoe, what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it so much. The Mad River TR is a cushioned neutral trail shoe. It has a 21mm stack in the forefoot, 25 in the heel, so a 4mm ramp. It's in my size, 11.5 US, it's 337 grams or 11.9 ounces. That would put it pretty much the same weight as the Asics Glide Ride. So while not necessarily a heavy shoe, certainly not a lightweight. If we start with the upper, it has a booty style construction, so the tongue is part of the inner. There's no actual separate tongue. It's got a fairly standard mesh upper. It's quite padded around the heel. One of the differences with this compared to other shoes is it actually gives you two different lacing options. So I've actually laced it differently on the different shoes. So on this one I've laced it on the outside eyelets, whereas on the other shoe I've actually laced it through these inner loops. So that gives you the option of trying to get a different kind of lockdown depending on the shape of your foot. I'm still deciding which one works best for me, hence why I've got one foot done one way and a different method on the other foot. When I have it wide, what I find is I can't tighten it too much because it sort of pulls down and I can feel it on the top of my foot, whereas when I use the inner eyelets I can pull it quite tight, and for standing still it feels like a better lockdown. However, on my longer runs I actually find I prefer this outer lacing style because it's pulling from a wider angle, so it doesn't need to be as tight, and I think a slightly looser lace with getting the same lockdown effect is more comfortable on those longer runs. It also has a little loop at the end of the laces if you wanted to attach a gaiter. I think you can get specific gaiters for these, or you could probably use a generic one. Myself, I never really bother with the gaiters. Moving to the insole, it's got a fair bit of cushioning there. When I first started running with it, I found it a little stiff, but it didn't take too long to soften up, and now I feel it's a really comfortable ride. Moving to the outsole, you've got some decent tread there, so it's reverse action on the heel, and that's to help you catch on the downhills, and obviously the normal direction on the front is where you land on the forefoot, either going up a hill or on the flat. The Mad River does have some special features. It's got little holes in here designed where you can drill through to create drainage holes. So there are some trail runs that go through rivers and creeks, and if you have the holes in the runners, that helps the water disperse quicker. It also has other sections where you can drill screws into, and that'll give you better grip in the snow and other really muddy conditions. I don't expect to be using any of those particular features. If we were to compare this outsole to Elaine's trail runners, you can see that these ones are far more aggressive. They've got deeper and more space between the tread, so that allows the mud to drop off. These ones are going to feel great on softer surfaces, mud. They're not going to feel so good if you have to run on a hard surface. Whereas the Mad River, the tread is a lot thinner, so it still feels fine running on the road. If you're going to do a 20k run all on the road, you wouldn't wear these, but if you had to travel, say 20 minutes run to get to the trail, this would be perfect. It feels fine on the road, and then that still gives you good grip once you get to the trail. Elaine and I do trail running races every winter. These are the runners I use for the races. They're very lightweight, they have a very small stack, they have a bit more aggressive tread. These are for fast races. When not racing, for longer runs when I need a bit more comfort, or if it's going to be varied terrain, so it might be road, it might be gravel, it might be smooth trails, it might be more technical trails. This is going to handle everything. I actually bought these shoes after I decided I was going to do an ultra marathon on the trails. So I figured I needed something to do those long training runs on the trails and maybe even racing these. I'd be looking at a 5 to 6 hour race, so I needed something with more comfort. And obviously racing that long, I'm not going to be going very fast. Unfortunately, COVID happened, so obviously no racing, but I'm still very happy that I bought these. What I like about the shoes? Well, for a start, my biggest gripe with shoes is usually not having enough area in the toe box. I'm glad to say these are fine. I've never had any problems with the toes being able to splay. I've never had any problem with my foot sliding forward. They're also quite comfortable. They're not the most comfortable shoes I have, but they're up towards that end. As I mentioned earlier, when I first got them, they did feel a bit stiff, but they softened up after a while, and now they're quite a plush ride. It's not going to have the same amount of grip as something with aggressive tread like this, but for 90% of trails, I think this is going to be fine. It doesn't have the same ground feel as my racing trail runners, but I wouldn't expect that. And it's not too bad. I can still feel the ground underneath me. I can feel if it does slide, I can feel when it grips. So I found that I can descend with quite a lot of confidence in these. So I was actually surprised how well I could descend. The bootie construction is really good for keeping that dust and dirt out, remembering that these are designed to run on trails, so you're going to have dirt everywhere. And I found they're really good. My socks are more or less clean when I finish my runs, which is not the case in a lot of my other runners. Over time, that's going to add comfort. The less dust and dirt you've got in there irritating your feet, the better. For durability, I think you're going to get a lot of life out of this. I think that sole is going to last forever, and I would take these to 800 kilometers or 500 miles. That's pretty much the ceiling I stop all my shoes at, regardless of what they look like at that distance. The other big plus for these is the price. I believe they retail for $200 Australian, which is about the average price for a pair of road runners. Usually trail runners are much more expensive. I was considering the Hoka Speedgoat Evos. These came on sale, and I think I paid less than half price of what the Speedgoats would have cost me. Now for things I'm not so keen about. Firstly, the weight. Together with the Asics Glide Ride, they are the heaviest shoes I own. Again, not heavy in the scheme of things, but I generally lean towards light shoes. Only a small thing, but worth mentioning, they have no waterproof properties at all. So every puddle you go through, your socks will get wet. But that's pretty much it for the dislikes. Would I buy these again? Probably. I'd really like to try out the Hoka Speedgoat Evos, but they're hideously expensive. If I see them discounted, I'll probably grab the Speedgoats. Otherwise, I'm more likely to grab another pair of these. Note that the Speedgoats are quite different, but I can't see myself needing both the Speedgoats and these. Talking about buying a new pair, they have come out with the second version, or it's about to be released. So the version 1 should be coming even cheaper. The features in version 2 are all the same with the laces and the holes. I think they have a slightly different midsole material, and they've changed the upper material a bit as well. I hope you found it interesting. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. See ya.